Hello, and welcome back to Absurd Land. These astonishing historical photos show raw, haunting moments that will stop you and leave you speechless. Let's get started. (1966). Model Nell Theobald was attacked by a lion during a photo shoot at the BMW stand at the New York Auto Show. Doctors managed to save her leg, and she received $250,000 in compensation, though she had asked for $3 million. This photo was taken just moments before the attack. In 1977, she tragically took her own life under still unclear circumstances. Zulaika Uday, a fearless Algerian heroine, was a prominent member of the resistance during the War for Independence from France, until she was eventually captured. She was tortured, paraded in chains through the streets of Algiers, and in 1957, executed by being thrown from a helicopter. Her body, lost until 1984, was found by a farmer and laid to rest in the Martyrs' Cemetery, a timeless symbol of women's courage in the Algerian Revolution. Japanese Americans at an internment camp in the Pacific Northwest, early 1940s. After the attack on Pearl Harbor, over 100,000 people of Japanese descent, most of them U.S. citizens, were forcibly removed from their homes and sent to camps like this. They lived behind barbed wire, watched by armed guards, not because of anything they did, but because of who they were. In 1912, Danish explorer Einar Mikkelsen was photographed following 2.5 years stranded in Greenland alongside Ivar Iversen, where they faced extreme isolation, starvation, and hallucinations, even burying their comrades before being left completely alone in the frozen wilderness. Just one day after this photo was taken, abortion doctor John Britton was shot dead outside his clinic, along with his bodyguard. In the photo, he holds a .357 Magnum revolver he carried for protection. His killer? A former priest, father of 3, and radical anti-abortionist named Paul Jennings Hill. Native soldiers serving in the Colonial Defense Force in German-controlled Cameroon, 1894. The colonizers recruited local men into their own army because it was cheaper, they knew the terrain, and their presence instilled fear among their own people. Many were forced to join against their will. During the Lviv pogrom of June 30th to July 1st, 1941, Ukrainian mobs assaulted and abused Jewish women in the streets. On July 1st, a horrific massacre unfolded in Lviv, carried out by German forces, Ukrainian nationalists, and local residents, including Ukrainians and Poles. This event became known as the Lviv Massacre, one of the many brutal episodes of anti-Jewish violence in Nazi-occupied Eastern Europe. Another photograph taken in Lviv during the same days shows a woman desperately fleeing through the streets, one of many caught in the terror unleashed by the pogrom. In Lviv, mobs made up of Poles and Ukrainians used the excuse of a national emergency to justify horrific acts against the Jewish population, including looting, sexual violence, beatings, and murder. On June 30th, the Organization of Ukrainian Nationalists established a provisional government in Lviv, backed by fervent anti-Semitic support. At the same time, leaflets promoting ethnic cleansing were distributed throughout the city. Jewish women before their execution in Skada, Latvia, December 15th to 17th, 1941. Part of the Liepāja massacres, where thousands were shot by Nazis and local collaborators on the beach. Victims were often forced to undress before being killed and buried in mass graves. 1901, an execution at Bilibid Prison in Manila, Philippines. The device used was called the garrote, a brutal method of strangulation that tightens a metal collar around the neck until death. 1977, Red Cross rescuers pull a driver from a car buried in a massive snowstorm in Buffalo. The blizzard created snowdrifts up to 10 meters high, trapping people in cars and homes. Dozens died due to extreme cold and isolation. Dustin Honkin was an Iowa chemistry student who used his newfound knowledge to become a meth kingpin. In 1992, he enlisted his best friend, moved to Arizona, and borrowed $5,000 to buy chemicals and equipment. Within a year, the two managed to produce several pounds of nearly pure meth. 1972, Seoul, South Korea. A 6-year-old girl is thrown from the burning Civic Hall building. 60 people died in the fire, but the girl survived. Firefighters on the ground caught her. Andy Warhol was shot by a radical feminist in 1968. The bullet tore through multiple organs, nearly killing him. He was clinically dead for a short time and never fully recovered, relying on a surgical corset for the rest of his life. Back in the 1850s, Mary Ellen Pleasant went from housemaid to multimillionaire by outsmarting racism. While working in wealthy homes, she learned how money worked and built a $30 million empire through smart investments. Facing racial barriers, she used white partners to hold properties, but never held back, using her fortune to fund the fight against slavery and racial injustice. She boldly said, "I'd rather be a corpse than a coward." The body of Quentin Roosevelt, youngest son of Teddy Roosevelt, lies next to his Newport 28. A pilot in the 95th Aero Squadron, Roosevelt was killed on July 14, 1918, when he was struck in the head by machine gun fire during a dogfight. The Germans buried him with full military honors. Sardinian dolphin fisherman, 1930. At that time, marine mammals were not yet protected, and fishermen often hunted dolphins for their meat and fat, which was used for purposes like lighting. Serial killer Jake Bird, Center, sits with two men asking him about his crimes. After his conviction, Bird declared, "All you guys who had anything to do with this case are going to die before I do." 5 people tied to the case died within a year. Washington State Penitentiary, 1949. Patrice Lumumba, first democratically elected Prime Minister of the Independent Republic of the Congo, short before his execution, after being captured by Colonel Joseph Mobutu's rebel troops on his attempt to flee to his stronghold at Stanleyville, Leopoldville, Congo, December 6, 1960. June 1944, Operation Pluto, pipelines under the ocean. A fuel pipeline designed to transport petrol from England to Normandy. The pipe is seen ready for deployment on a ship. Dutch resistance members laying a Dutch flag on the spot where 30 of their comrades were executed. Amsterdam, the Netherlands, March of 1945. Mexican homosexuals being detained in a police station in Mexico City, 1935. A time when homosexuality was criminalized and persecuted, forcing many to live in fear and secrecy. On this day in 1996, the Port Arthur massacre in Australia began. 35 people were killed and 23 were wounded. Australia immediately went about reforming gun laws, and around 650,000 firearms were collected and destroyed. This photo shows some of the guns collected. Soviet children gathered around a UV lamp, 1977. Due to the lack of sunlight, especially in Siberian industrial cities, this method was used to artificially provide vitamin D and prevent rickets. A housewife poses with $12.50 worth of groceries for the week in 1947. It was enough to feed herself, her husband, their 4-year-old twins, and the family cat. That's about $160 in today's money. Back then, it was like doing your whole weekly grocery shopping for a family of 4, plus the cat, for what would now be just $40. 1910, two 13-year-old boys caught smallpox at the same time. One had been vaccinated as a child and only developed a few scabs that healed quickly. The other suffered the severe form of the disease. Back in the 18th century, some people had refused the smallpox vaccine, fearing it would turn them into cows, because it was made from cowpox. Adolf Hitler with 2 of the Goebbels girls. The 2 girls, along with their other 4 siblings, were murdered with cyanide by their parents in 1945 because the Goebbels didn't want their children to live in a world without Nazism. Do not buy where you will not be hired. This was the powerful message carried by black protesters in North Carolina during the early 1960s. Their demand was clear. If stores refused to hire black workers, then they shouldn't profit from black customers. This form of economic pressure often achieved more than any slogan shouted in the streets. Former Nazi concentration camp guard Michael Kolnhofer points a revolver at reporters and TV cameramen who want to interview him about the denaturalization proceedings just initiated against him. He was gunned down by the police after a brief shootout, Kansas City, Kansas, 1996. Clutching a Bible, Alex Bartolome, sentenced to die for child rape, is escorted to the death chamber. He'd admitted to raping his daughter over 100 times since he missed their mother, starting when she was 14. He was the last person to be, legally, executed in the Philippines, 2000. Saddam Hussein captured by the United States military in December 2003. The women demonstrate what could be purchased for $1.34 in 1918 and 1945. Actor Klaus Kinski holding a machete to director Werner Herzog's throat during the filming of Cobra Verde. Their relationship was complicated, filled with violent outbursts, threats, and twisted mutual respect that somehow fueled their legendary collaborations. Future Queen Elizabeth performing a Nazi salute, early 1930s. The footage, filmed at Balmoral when she was a child, sparked controversy decades later, though historians argue it reflected the casual mimicry of the time, not political intent. A photo of Central Park during the Great Depression, New York, 1933. Hundreds lived in makeshift shacks known as Hoovervilles, built from scrap wood and metal. Some even dug underground shelters to survive the winter. Leonard Matlovich, a decorated Vietnam vet with a Bronze Star and Purple Heart, came out as gay in 1975 after 12 years of service. Discharged despite his record, he fought to return, becoming a pioneer in the gay rights movement. His grave honors his legacy.
Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.